Wild card weekend all said and done. Both games on Sunday. The third matchup between the two teams of the year. Start with the AFC, and the third matchup, well, it goes the Patriots way over the Jets. 37-16 the final. New England avenges that home field loss to the Jets from Week 10. And, going in, it was billed as Mangini Belichick Part 3, but once the game got going, well, it's just home field advantage for the Patriots. Now, Tom Brady still undefeated at home at Gillette Stadium in the playoffs, and they have yet to lose a playoff game since December 31st at home, 1978. As we say hello on the Subway NFL Postgame Show, Fresh Buzz NFL Postgame Show, alongside Charley Casserly, I'm Jason Horowitz. And, Charlie, on paper, this game looked like a blowout, 37-16, but it was a lot closer than that.
Yeah, it really was. It was a 17 game at the half. The Patriots in the second half pulled away on some mistakes. Okay, first of all, the Jets pulled to 17-13. Then, as a quarter went on, they made a crucial mistake. They threw, in effect, it was a lateral. They didn't realize it was a lateral. Patriots took it down, got points off that, get an interception, get points. The Patriots were the better football team. The Jets made too many mistakes. That's why they lost the football game. Hey, Patriots San Diego, we'll talk about that good ball game coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about that right now. One of the standout points this year of the Patriots has been the fact that their rush defense has been very good. Fifth in the NFL, opponents only averaging 94 a game. They held the Jets to 70. Next week, they get LaDainian Tomlinson. What does the Patriots defense do with LT?
Well, they better do better than they did last year because it was 41-17 up in New England, where the Patriots gave up 134 yards rushing to Daniel Tomlinson, 108 yards to Antonio Gates. When you go play the San Diego Chargers, you've got Phillip Rivers in his first playoff game of quarterback. So you can expect 8 men in the box. You can expect everything to stop the run, double team Antonio Gates, make Phillip Rivers beat you. Expect multiple coverage. Expect the unexpected from New England to confuse Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, on the season, you saw his numbers, good numbers, but down the stretch, he really struggled. You've looked at tape, but what did you see from Phillip Rivers, why he struggled down the stretch?
Well, what people will tell you when they play him is rush him. Get people in his face. He gets a little flustered. He'll stare down receivers. He's not a real mobile guy, though he has a little mobility, but he's not accurate on the run. He's got a foot that was in a boot all last week. So look for New England to come with pressure. Look for him to read his eyes. Asante Samuel, very instinctive player. Wouldn't bet against him getting an interception next week.
All right, we'll get to the other game on Sunday in just a little bit in the NFC with Pat Kirwan. Let's go to the other end of the AFC spectrum, and the Colts' rush defense was just away from the Patriots' rush defense, the total other end of the spectrum, last in the NFL. But they have to hope that what they did on Saturday against the Chiefs wasn't just pulling the rabbit out of the hat. By now they took care of Kansas City 23-8, and next week we'll travel to Baltimore. But look at the defensive improvement from the season to Saturday. They didn't give up a first down in the first half. They gave up only 126 total yards. They gave up 8 points in the game. But the Colts, the best Colts postseason defensive effort in the franchise history. Tony Dungy said going in that they weren't going to be able to stop Larry Johnson. They did stop Larry Johnson. They held him to 32 yards. But next week with Jamal Lewis, they're going to expect the same game plan because Brian Billick likes to run the football. How do they recreate the same effort?
Well, first of all, I think the Colts play better defense at home because of a couple things. One, the crowd noise causes problems for the offensive team to get off on the snap. Indy relies upon quickness, so that favors them. A guy like Dwight Freeney getting off the ball quick. Mathis getting off the ball quick. Now, you go on the road, the field isn't going to be as fast. The crowd noise is against you. Okay, so now, they're not going to play as good on the road. The thing they have going for them is McNair and the offense. The offensive ball is not an explosive offense, but it's better than Kansas City. Trent Green didn't play well. I think it was a pride game. I don't think they're going to be able to shut down Jamal Lewis as much as Larry Johnson. But, hey, Jamal Lewis isn't Larry Johnson either. You don't see the big runs. So I think the defense could be good enough to keep them in the game against Baltimore.
Now, Peyton Manning now is 4-6 in his career in the postseason, now going to Baltimore. Easily the best defense he's faced this season. Do you expect him to have big numbers this week?
Well, I'll tell you what, he has that opportunity, but really, it's going to be on two things. One, can they pass protect? You go back to the playoffs last year. The teams that could rush the passer, Pittsburgh, San Diego in the regular season at the end of the year, they were the teams that really gave Peyton Manning problems. Now, they do have a chance. Why do they have a chance? Because the secondary for Baltimore can be vulnerable to the pass. Sometimes they'll make mistakes. They'll have let guys running free. They'll miss assignments. So the ability for Peyton Manning to score points is there, but Manning has thrown 11 interceptions in the last 10 games. It's going to come down to pass protection. If he has time to throw, they have a chance to win the game. If he has to move around in the pocket, he doesn't have time to throw, they're not going to win a game.
All right, Indy going back to its original destination. Charley Casserly, thank you very much for all your insider. Our NFL insider, Charley Casserly, will catch up with you again next week. And that'll be after the games on CBS, and it starts Saturday with the AFC game on CBS. Indianapolis at Baltimore, Saturday at 4:30. The coverage begins with the NFL Today at 3:30 on CBS. And then on Sunday, it's the game we talked about earlier. New England going across the country to take on the NFL's MVP and LaDainian Tomlinson. Sunday at 4:30. The NFL Today begins at 4 o'clock. All right, let's turn our attention to the NFC, and for that, we make a substitution. Pat Kirwan here, NFL.com's Pat Kirwan, in for Charley Casserly.
Thanks for having me there, Jay.
Hey, we're always glad to have you here on CBS SportsLine. Pat, let's start with the game that happened on Sunday. The Giants and the Eagles, and for the first time since 2000, all four home teams in the wild card won the game, and 23-20. Now, of the three games these two teams played, this was the most complete, I think, by both teams. 23-20 the final. Eli Manning led the Giants down for a tying touchdown, and Jeff Garcia took the Eagles down the field for the game-winning field goal. David Akers' 10th career game-winning field goal. But the thing that stuck out at me, the Giants, a team that all year long have been destined for penalties, had 9 more today, and 7 of them were procedure penalties.
Well, there's a lot of pressure. You're on the road, and as you said, all the home teams won. That guy named Brian Westbrook, he's a terrific football player, and the best thing that happened to Brian Westbrook is Marty Morningwig. Because as soon as that guy got involved with the play calling, Westbrook went up to over 20 carries a game. He's rushing for over 100 yards a game. This is a different football team than the one the Saints saw the last time they played.
Yeah, and we'll get into that game in just a sec, but there was a lot of pressure, and there's always going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback of the Giants. And a lot of people, I bet the media in New York tomorrow will say, get on Eli Manning. He didn't do anything in between the first drive and the last drive. Your thoughts on that?
Too critical of Eli Manning. He's a young kid. He's in his third year. He got a team to the playoffs in his first 2 years as a starter. He's thrown 48 touchdowns in 2 years coming to these playoffs. I thought his composure late when that offensive line couldn't hold their water, had penalties. It ended up being 1st and 30.
Yep. Second and 30, too.
Because and it could have been 1st and 40. We saw another penalty they let go. But I thought Eli Manning's composure down the stretch was money for that football team. And he found Plaxico Burress, put the team in position, tied the game. Don't be too critical of Plaxico or Eli Manning.
Yeah, they both played well today. And, the other people that played well, both offenses did exactly what they knew they could do well against those defenses, which was running the football. Tiki Barber, Brian Westbrook, both huge games today. Westbrook 141 and a touchdown. He also with that 49-yard touchdown run, longest in Eagles franchise history in the playoffs. Barber 137 yards in what is supposed to be his last game. Your thoughts on Tiki Barber's career?
Well, I think Tiki Barber represents everything I love about the National Football. He's a class guy. When I think of LaDainian Tomlinson, the guy who was the MVP, I think of a guy like Tiki Barber. Just the kind of guy you want young people to look up to. He's not going to win every game, and I thought he went out like a true champion today. He thinks he's not going to miss the game in a sense because he's ready for his next career, but I know Tiki well enough to know next fall it's going to be tough for him watching the games.
He'll be watching the games. We'll be talking about him in the morning shows, the afternoon shows.
Stay busy, Tiki, because if you get a minute to think about it, you will miss it.
Much like CBS's Boomer Esiason. He's on every channel.
That's right.
All right, now let's get into the NFC games for next weekend, and let's get into what they are. Saturday night, you got Philadelphia traveling to New Orleans. It's a game that has already happened this season with the Saints beating the Eagles early on that Saturday night at 8. Then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, Seattle goes to Chicago, where they got hammered earlier in the season in a game that Sean Alexander didn't play. He obviously will play this game. Pat, you've seen both of these games earlier in the year. Break them down. Start with Philadelphia and New Orleans.
First off, remember the last time they played 27-24, New Orleans at home. So they're going back into New Orleans to play. But that was Donovan McNabb. He was sacked 3 times in that game. What we see in Garcia is a guy who's getting rid of the ball very quickly. This is a guy, I think he's being sacked once every 27 passes. Got to do the math from this week. So he gets the ball out of his hand faster, and the offense is now 50% run, 50% pass. When they met earlier in the year, 19 run, 32 pass. That was the old Eagle team. I think New Orleans is going to have some challenges here trying to figure out how to play this team.
It's interesting, too, because that Jeff Garcia final drive today against the Giants, Pat, looked identical to the one that Drew Brees had for the Saints against the Eagles to win that game. Right. Now, the other game is the Seahawks, maybe lucky to be in the divisional round because of the whole Tony Romo. But they won. That's right. You never apologize for winning, and they are going into Chicago where they got hammered the first time, but it's a different Rex Grossman. This defense is banged up. There's no Tommy Harris. How do you see this one going?
Well, Tommy Harris had 2 sacks the last time they played, and he hit the quarterback 4 times. So 6 times Tommy on his own affected the passing game. He will not be there, and I don't believe they have a replacement for him. On the other side, Sean Alexander didn't play the last time Seattle went in there. Jeremy Stevens, who caught 2 touchdowns last night, wasn't on the field, and neither was DJ Hackett. So Seattle will be a stronger football team. The Chicago Bears will be a weaker football team. But I still like the home team because they are so stingy on defense, giving up just 16 points a game in Chicago. I think Seattle will struggle to score enough points to win.
Yeah, and that'll be Sunday afternoon at 1, and the Saturday night game in New Orleans, the Superdome will be rocking. Folks, there you have it, the Subway Fresh Buzz postgame show. NFL.com's Pat Kirwan. I'm Jason Horowitz. For full previews of each of those 4 games, be sure to check the website starting Friday, this coming Friday, here only on CBS SportsLine. Until then, folks, playoff time. It's nothing better. Take care.